Hey everyone, as requested, I'll be explaining why you should use printed references rather than a digital screen to mix your colors more accurately. This is especially important for beginners. So I'm going to be mixing colors for both of these images so that you can see the problems that arise from trying to match a digital screen. Now these two images are exactly the same. I have not altered them in any way. Images like these tend to print darker than a digital screen itself, which is shining light into your eyes, which is one of the problems we're going to encounter. Now, before we start, I want to explain how I typically mix colors because it's going to be just a little bit different for this video format where I need you to see what I'm seeing. Typically, I will have my palette on my right side and I'll be painting at the easel. I put the reference image right next to the canvas that I'll be painting on so that the printed image is falling at the same angle that the painting will be. For this video setup, however, I'm going to be taking these images and putting them down flat on this table. I've just found that this is the best way to help you see what I'm seeing because cameras can pick up specular reflections much more than the human eye can. And you can see as I take my palette knife over, even the angle that I'm holding this makes a big difference in how we perceive its color. For me, I don't see that big of a difference. My eyes can account for that more easily than you can. Though it is worth noting that mixing a color, getting some paint on the back of this and hovering this over, this is typically what I do. It's very fast, very efficient. But because of all of those variables, it is better to have a little strip of palette paper and you can paint onto this and then you can actually drop this right over the image, lay it flat, and you can see how the color actually compares. I think that is just really interesting information for you when you're mixing and matching your colors. The angle at which you look at this really does matter. And speaking of which, look at how when I turn the angle on my camera, the digital screen is getting darker. It now looks darker than the printed reference image. But when I look at the screen head on, now the screen is brighter than the printed reference. You can see just how reflective the glass is and how it's actually affecting the values and the colors that you're trying to match. Matching colors to this is like hitting a moving target, whereas this image is a lot more fixed. It doesn't react quite as much to the different changes in angles that we're viewing this from. And if that's not enough to convince you already, then keep watching because things will get even more interesting. Okay, so I've already mixed this background color and it's a near perfect match, and I use mostly this yellow with a little bit of red. And remember that this digital screen is exactly the same. I have not made any edits to the image whatsoever, but if we take this and hover over, you can see just how much darker this color is. This also looks gray in comparison. And this is the most colorful orange I can possibly get using my richest red and my richest yellow. So I can't even make a color that's more colorful than this, and yet this digital screen is asking for more. So this image, just by its brightness alone, actually makes it impossible for me to even match the colors in the first place. The only way I could possibly use this, if I'm trying to match my colors perfectly, would be to dim down the brightness to simulate something that's a little bit more matte. But you can see that as I slowly go down in darkness, we quickly lose the color, and so we can't get a perfect match just by adjusting the brightness. So I'll keep the brightness a little bit lower, something like this, so that maybe we have some attempt at matching the color we need to get. Now again, I'm seeing this from a completely different angle than this camera, so this looks very dark to me. I'm going to try to match it to the camera that you see, which is going to mess with my brain a little bit. But I'm just saying that again to give you an idea of how difficult this already is for me in trying to match the colors. So what I was seeing was a little bit more yellow, so I'll take some there. And I do want to maintain as much color as I can, so I guess I'll just start with the tiniest amount of red. And I think I'll need a bit more than that, trying to be careful not to go overboard, especially because I'm only mixing a little bit of paint here. Now I can try this with the palette knife. Let's just get a sense for where we are. I want to make sure that this is dense enough so that I'm not seeing the palette paper through it. So this still needs more orange. I'm even going to take a little bit of this orange, put it in here. So I'm actually very surprised at what I'm seeing here. So I can't even tell if this is accurate. I have to kind of awkwardly stand up here. And interestingly, this looks wrong to me when I stand completely over this. This looks green and dark in comparison, but on the camera screen, it looks a lot closer. So I'm a bit confused, but as I stand here through the camera, that is disappearing. Yet in person, this looks way off. It looks so off to me. And I don't know if it's just how the camera is processing visual information versus how I'm processing the visual information. And it may even be that because the camera has its own fixed limitations, it's able to get this color. But for me in person, I have not made a perfect match yet. So let me check to see. My brightness has not changed. So now I'm curious about being able to mix this and getting it accurate to my own eyes, not just what you guys see through the camera. Both of these are too dark. So that means that I have no choice but to elevate my values into white, which is going to take color away. We'll get some white. I'll need to add more yellow here. Now we have a much brighter value, and let's get this a little bit more orange. It's gonna have to be just a small amount. I think I can get away with just a little bit more. I think we might be in the zone here. And this is already too dark and not colorful enough for my eyes. Now, if I'm going to get more colorful, I have to add either the red or the yellow. And if I add white, then this is going to get brighter, but it's going to get less colorful. But let's hope that I can use this to kind of bridge the gap between those, since this is both bright and more colorful. Now, through your video camera, this is looking like a really good match. For me, this is still too dark and not colorful enough. This is gray compared to this, and it's darker than this. And I've exhausted all of my options. If I add red, it'll go darker. If I add yellow, it won't change the value, it'll just change the hue. If I add white, the value will go up, but I'll lose the saturation. So I'm shocked that I was able to mix a color that you can see through the camera, but I myself have not been able to match this color, and I would have difficulty matching any of these colors in here. Now I could try to dim this down even more, but look at how we lose so much color in the process. The printed reference image is more colorful than the digital screen itself. I can't seem to find the rich reds that this printed image is giving me. So going darker is not the answer here. And with how confusing it's already been just to match one color, this taking me just a moment to match this, when I mix this, this looks correct to my eyes and to the camera's eyes. And part of the reason why is because, again, this is light shining into your eyes, whether it's my human eyes or the camera's eyes. The paint here, it doesn't shine light. It absorbs light and bounces some back. It's interacting with the light differently than this screen is. With this digital screen that's shining light at you, the way that the colors mix together is through additive color mixing, where white is the collection of all the colors. Like the light from the sun has red wavelengths, blue wavelengths, green wavelengths, and when you put them all together, you get white. But with subtractive color mixing, white is the absence of color. The more that I mix these colors together, the closer to brown or black I'm going to get. So the very nature of how these colors mix is different. This, however, operates through subtractive color mixing. And so just like oil paint, this isn't shining light at you, it is absorbing light and then bouncing some back. And that's why it's so much easier to mix a color for this than to mix a color for a digital screen. Aside from the fact that it's so reflective and breaking my brain a little bit, any one of these swatches that goes on here technically becomes a shadow relative to the light, which would be shining into your eyes. This isn't shadow from this light source. Like if we look at this bright white screen, and let's take our white and do what we did before and put this on. This white is darker than the brightness of the screen. So there's absolutely no way where we could possibly mix this. If I come over to a color picker here, I can be at the very top of my values with this very rich red color. And we can compare that to the brightest red we have available, and it will be darker. So all that being said, if you are a beginner especially, you should be focusing on learning how to mix colors and match them perfectly to your reference. It is exponentially more difficult, if not impossible, to match them perfectly with a digital screen. Remember that with this color looks right to the camera and it looks right to my eyes. But for the digital screen, I had to use this brighter color, which looks right to you, but it doesn't even look right to me. So I've tried my best to really show how this doesn't work, but often I will still use a digital screen to mix my colors because it tends to force my hand to mix my colors brighter while trying to maintain as much color as I possibly can. It can be frustrating because you won't ever be able to match the exact color on the screen. Instead, you have to make sure that the colors are accurate relative to each other. So let's say I want to mix this nice blue color. I can start with this, and as I discussed, doing this is not going to help me. So I have to use my own eyes to visually compare this to that. But not just that, I have to compare how this looks against this color. Let's say that this is the color that I'm satisfied with for the background, and I have to visually compare them. This blue color, I think, is less saturated than the yellow. It's also significantly darker than the yellow. And so I'm not trying to mix this color exactly to the reference. I'm trying to mix it in perfect harmony with this color over here, which of course is a lot more difficult. It's a lot more nuanced, but as an example, I'm leaning towards adding the tiniest amount of this cool red to get into here. I'm trying to gray this down a little bit, so I'll keep adding this. This is making it darker, more gray. It's leaning a little bit purple now, which is okay because I'm seeing lots of purple in there. And I'm not sure if this is perfectly accurate, but what I can do instead is mix another color so that I can triangulate. So this is a nice rich red color. This also feels a bit bright and colorful compared to what the background is going to be. So I think I'll add some of this as well. I can also compare the values against each other. It's hard to tell, but I think this value should be brighter than this one. And then I could start to look at connecting points. How do I connect this yellow to this red? And I actually find that this might be a decent bridge between them. For the blue and the yellow, I see this leaning into a grayish purple. So rather than just mix these two together, I think I need to mix a new color entirely. So this is leaning a little purple, and I think it'll need some white. And actually, I'm liking this relationship. Essentially, this yellow will transition into orange, and then it'll go into here. And I like the value of this as it relates to these, but the value of these feel about the same, and so that might mean that this needs to be brighter. So again, just another example of how I have to juggle all these relationships, the colors compared to each other, rather than simply copying what I'm seeing. If you're beginning at color mixing, start by copying what you can see with a printed reference image. With this, I can immediately make a whole bunch of course corrections to make sure that all of my color relationships are going to be accurate and correct. But as it is, I'm playing in no man's land by using this digital screen. And I like this because it forces me to be more colorful than I think possible. But that also comes with a trade-off, because if I'm not careful, I could end up with really bright colors that aren't colorful enough. And so that's kind of where I'm at in my own journey of color mixing. I might find that after doing this for a little while, I begin to feel like my colors are bright, but they don't have enough color. And so maybe I'll gravitate back to this one day so that I can have as colorful of a painting as possible, while also keeping in mind that I should err on the brighter side rather than the darker side. But that, again, just gets into a whole lot more nuance, and I'm still on my own journey of mixing colors. Another thing, while I'm here, you might notice that there are some areas in this print that get abnormally darker. You can see this dark ring in here, and that has to do with limitations of the ink and the printer. So there could be some additional benefits to having the digital screen on hand in case there are issues like that. Usually they won't show up unless you're dealing with a very colorful image like the one that I have here. But yeah, so hopefully I've convinced you that it's worth it to print an image so that you can reliably mix the colors, not just making them accurate, but they'll be accurate in relation to each other, which matters more. It'll save you time in your palette and allow you to quickly get into painting. There's a lot of things like this that might seem like it's not worth the time or the money to, print something out. Mixing your colors in advance is another one of those things. And also not cutting corners. Like if you want to get good at color mixing, start by being able to match whatever is put in front of you. Don't settle for good enough. Mix a color and get it right. You'll improve your ability to see changes in hue and changes in value so that you can really make your painting sing as they all work together in harmony. Let me know if you appreciate me doing these more traditional painting videos. They are more work on my part. It's been difficult to get the lighting right, to help you guys see what I'm seeing. And I'm sorry that I couldn't quite simulate exactly what I'm seeing with my own eyes. But if you like content like this, then you can give this a like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more stuff like this. If you have topics that you want me to cover, then try me out. Put it in the comments and I'll see what I can do. It's been really fun to serve you guys and to respond to questions that you have and really let this be a growing community that's not just what I want to do, but serving the needs of people who need help. It's really an honor to help people create what they envision. And the best way to get help with that is to send in your work for a critique. I'm also doing one-on-one coaching as well, but you can start by sending me your work for a critique, which is free right now, and then we could go from there. So thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day.